Because she's an outcast. Because of the sin that she did have in her life, because of being married so many times, currently not being married, but living with a man. She was an outcast. People looked at her and viewed her and judged her. And I can tell you that probably in this very place at this well in the early morning, the beautiful young women of the town would come out, and they, just like you do at the office, everybody gathers around the coffee bar or, the little water fountain, and you chit-chat. How was your weekend? Good. What'd you do? Oh, that's so wonderful. And they all got to enjoy each other's company and fellowship. She didn't. She didn't get to go in the morning because she knew that people would look at her and judge her. And she would be in a place that would just bring her more desperation, more hurt, and more pain. And so she chose on her own to come when nobody else would be there. And the sun would be high in the sky and it would be hot, but she knew no one else would go at that time. So I see her coming with her water jug. And I think to myself, what was she feeling as she was walking to the well? Here I go again. Life. Why do I have to come at noon? Why do I have to be here all alone? Why can't I be one of them? Why did I make the choices and the decisions that I made? Why do I have to feel such pain and such hurt and such loneliness? And I know that that's what she thought every day when she went to get water. She just knew that nobody was going to accept her. She was rejected. She was running on empty. So here she is, she's got her water jug and she's walking up, and Jesus is waiting. Don't you love that? I mean, if that doesn't just speak volumes to you, just know beyond a shadow of a doubt that no matter what you're going through, Jesus is waiting to meet you right there at the well. She didn't know. She didn't know. She had no idea. She knew about a Messiah. But she didn't know that she was about to have an encounter that was going to change her life forever. So she walks up. I can imagine the awkwardness. Can you imagine? She walks up. She knows she's a Samaritan woman. And she can look at this young man and know that he is a Jew. And she knows that he's not going to talk to her. He despises her. I can imagine the things going through her mind. What is he doing here? Why is he alone? Should I come to the well? Should I go back home? What should I do? I can imagine her thinking just these thoughts of not knowing exactly how to handle this. And so she comes up to the well, and he's eyeing her. And can you imagine what he's thinking? Oh, my child, you don't have to be sad anymore. You don't have to have all that pain in your heart. You can be skipping to the well instead of dragging your feet. She has no idea that he does. And so she comes, and I can imagine, she comes and swings her little, or big, actually they were big jars, but her big jar down to the ground. And she decides to stay. She decides, I'm going to go ahead and get my water. I've walked all this way. I'm going to go ahead and do this. And the first thing that comes out of his mouth, she's not even expecting him to speak to her. He's a Jew. He shouldn't even be there. And what he says to her is, give me a drink. And really, in actuality, it should have been flipped. If she really knew who he was, which she didn't, she should have said, give me a drink. But he said to her, give me a drink. And I love this because what happens is, you know what she does? I know that we've all done this. Somebody says something to you and you kind of miss it a little bit. And so you're in your own insecurities. You're thinking about your own life and your own selfishness and stuff. What does she say? Why is it that you, a Jew, would ask me, a Samaritan woman, for a drink? Label, 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 label. Don't we do that? Don't we do that? We can't. She couldn't even get a blessing from Jesus because she was so busy. Boop, this is what I am. Boop, this is what I am. This is what I've done. Over and over. This is who you are. This is who I am. We do that all the time. We aren't able to receive blessings from people because we throw those labels on. We don't allow that blessing to come through because of our own insecurities, for whatever reason it is. But Jesus is saying to her, hello, I'm speaking to you. There's a blessing here. And she's so not understanding what's going on, but she just looks at who she is and who he is. And this is what he says to her. If you knew the gift of God and who it is that is saying to you, give me a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water. Okay, instantly, right there again, what does she do? She skips over the whole part of who God is. If you knew who God was. Skipped over that whole part, and she starts talking about buckets and water and stuff that don't even pertain to what he said. She's so wrapped up in who she is and, the knowledge that she has of the well and you need a bucket for this, that she's not even listening to what he's saying. Do we do that sometimes? We don't really listen to what people are saying to us, that are sharing with us, that are offering us. She skipped over that whole blessing. She just didn't see it. And I know as a mother that I've done that many, many times in my life. I've come home from a busy day. I'm trying to unwind. My children come in and they're just blah, 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 blah. And I had this and oh my gosh, this was great. And you get this glazed over look and you're thinking about whatever. And you miss all of that time together because you're preoccupied with your own thoughts. Don't we do that sometimes? We do that with our friends, our family. Do we do that with God? Or sometimes we wake up in the morning and you're tired, but you need to spend some time with the Lord and pray and open your Bible and read the Word. And all of a sudden you're sitting there and you just start getting a little tired and your mind starts thinking about the things you have to do. And maybe God had a blessing for us at that time. Maybe that specific time He had a divine appointment with you. Have you ever thought about that? Like the divine appointments that He has with you? Like on Sunday morning, are you prepared to come to this divine appointment and allow God to speak to you and give you a blessing? Or are you preoccupied with what you're going to have for lunch? That nap you're going to take this afternoon? What you're going to do? Getting your week started? That you can't just relax and open your heart and your mind to Him for an hour and a half? Bible study on Thursday night, same thing. It's a divine appointment that you have with the Lord. Are you going to miss blessings because you're just too tired to read your chapter, or you don't really have time to really get involved in it like you want, but God has a message for you and a blessing that He wants to speak to you, but we're just too busy and preoccupied, we're not listening? That's what I think happened here. I think she totally overlooked what He was trying to say. I mean, He said a lot in that one sentence. If you knew who God was, you would have said to Him. She overlooked the whole thing. And what does she come back with? Just not understanding where He's coming from. And she starts talking about the bucket and the well and how deep it is. And then she wants to know, where do you get this living water? And then she starts talking about the ancestors. Are you greater than our ancestor Jacob, who gave us the well and with his sons and his flocks drank from it? She's letting him know she's very knowledgeable with what's going on here with this well. She knows it's deep. She knows whose well it is. She knows who the ancestors are. She's saying this, I know these things. And it didn't say anything about that. And so she keeps getting a little bit further away. She's about to miss her blessing. And then Jesus says to her, everyone who drinks of this water will be thirsty again. But those who drink of the water that I will give them will never be thirsty. The water that I will give them will become in them a spring of water gushing up to eternal life. And then she kind of gets it a little bit. But she still doesn't acknowledge him saying, me and I will give you. She says, sir, give me this water. Why? So that I don't have to thirst anymore. So I don't have to come to this well every day. At that moment, she admitted her need and her desire to be filled up. She was thirsty. Her spirit was dissatisfied. She was emotionally dissatisfied with her life. She knew right then, and it was like, God, if I could just have that kind of water, I wouldn't have to come here anymore. She starts to acknowledge and see that there is a deeper desire, a deeper longing for something that's just not being filled. And Jesus says to her, oh, I love this part. And see, that's where we get, guys. He wants so bad to give her that living water right then. He's like, she's right there. She's ready to accept it. But this is what he does. And I know that we don't like it when this happens. But it happens to us all the time. He says, go. Go get your husband and then come back. He knows her life. Just like Jesus knows ours. And there are times that we come to the well and we're thirsty, we're dry, we're not being spiritually met, we have emotional needs, there's all this life going on in our world. Sometimes we feel like I just can't even go any further. I'm on empty. And what does he do? He puts a mirror in her face. Why? Why did he say, go get your husband? He knew she wasn't married. Because in order to have living water, he had to get her to see her sins. We can't come to the well and then not expect for God to change us and to say, you got some stuff in your life that you need to get rid of. You want this living water? That's great. I'm here to give it to you, and I've been waiting for you. But you've got to take a look at what you're doing. I want to cleanse you like that song says. I want to cleanse you. So what does she say? I can just imagine her shame. He says, go get your husband, and she's just standing there, and she's like, I don't have a husband. She's broken. She has to admit to this Jewish man that she's living in sin. She doesn't have a husband. She's inundated with all of that guilt and that shame of knowing all the things that she's done all through her life. And at that moment has to say, I don't have one. But Jesus is so gentle and he's so loving, and he says to her, it's true. He wasn't harsh. He wasn't like, yeah, you're right. You don't have no husband. Look at all the stuff that's been going on in your life. He didn't say that. His words are gentle. He says, what you say is true. You don't have a husband. You've had 5. And the man that you are currently living with is not your husband. She could have lied. Do we do that sometimes when we come to the foot of the cross and we want to pretend, or maybe, make something look a little bit not as bad as what Jesus knows to be the truth?